Hello, ENC 1102 classmates. Throughout the first unit of generally learning how to research rhetorically and gaining information literacy skills, I was able to capture a lot of different observations. The first observation I would like to dive into is the importance of considering audience, purpose, and genre when analyzing sources. My topic is the negative change in the purpose of makeup, and for one of the assignments in researching rhetorically, number 1, we had to choose 2 different articles and differentiate and compare them based off of them having either a different audience, different purpose, or a different genre. So I chose to go with a different genre. One of the articles that I found was a dictated interview style, whereas the other article was more of an informative format and genre. After analyzing both articles, I was able to narrow down the individual audiences and purposes. This generally helped me as a writer because it allowed me to dive deeper into what types of sources actually support my intentions for this paper that I'm going to write and support my overall purpose as the writer. For example, the first article focused more on sharing the misconceptions of beauty, and it focused more on the actual term of beauty and how it's lost its origin. It was more general, whereas the second article was more specific. It listed the negative reasons. It was more informative. And in my future essay, I see myself wanting to use more facts and factual statements. So using the second article would be more effective than using the first article. Another observation that I want to discuss is the idea of fact-checking sources, facts, information, claims, etc. During Research Rhetorically 2, one of the assignments, we had to pick a social media post and fact-check some of the claims from the post. I chose a TikTok and it was entitled The Ugly Side of Makeup by Kara Swisher. One of the statements from that TikTok that I wanted to fact-check said, "The trends of makeup now are focused on embracing our natural beauty rather than a decade ago." Now, as I originally watched this statement being said, I didn't see any problem with it, but after I went over to TikTok again and again, I realized that there was no proof of how makeup looked 10 years ago. Swisher, the person in the video, didn't include any images or anything like that, so she could just be going off of her own assumption or her own opinion. So I chose to fact check it, and after fact checking, it was evident that a decade ago, women wore larger amounts of makeup that were heavier than the amounts of makeup that women generally wear today. In general, I realized that the importance of double checking huge claims in social media posts and in articles is really important. Information has value. It's present in our education, our morals, our conversation, our scholarship. So it's important that we as writers make the most effort to be as credible as possible always. Another observation I would like to describe is basically how social media can help or hinder our information literacy skills. After completing the social media assignment in Research Rhetorically number 2, I would say that I came to terms on how social media can actually hinder our information literacy skills more than help them. In this day and age, it's just so easy to believe everything you see without having the urge or the want to even fact check or look into the author or even analyze an image more descriptively than you would normally. For example, when I had to fact check some claims from the TikTok I analyzed, I found myself spending hours looking for statements to fact check simply because my mindset agreed with everything that Swisher said in that TikTok, so I didn't see the need to fact check things that I agreed with. However, through this assignment, I learned that when it comes to social media, it's important to not only be observant, but use the information literacy skill of eliminating your opinion and making sure you can prove everything to be the most credible. The last observation that I would like to discuss is basically the difference between becoming a responsible researcher and an irresponsible researcher. When I think about what it means to be a responsible researcher, I automatically think about some of the general skills that I gained from the assignments in Research Rhetorically number 1. Not only did I gain the skill of being able to distinguish effective from ineffective sources, but I also learned how to become a more responsible researcher. Before this exercise, I would have considered myself a more irresponsible researcher simply because I would only use sources that were produced by big organizations, and that mindset just allowed me to believe that because it was produced by an organization that the article must be credible and it must be valid. I never really found myself researching on the background of the author, their credentials, any form of potential bias, none of that. During the assignment where we had to practice researching and evaluating sources, I researched an article that was published on the National Library of Medicine. It basically was a study that analyzed the negative effects of makeup on mental health. By researching more information about the sponsoring organization and researching more information about where the study took place, I was able to gain more insight about other negative effects of makeup that I may want to add into my future research papers, such as eating disorders and physical negative effects. In conclusion, I definitely hope to continue to use these information literacy skills as I continue to conduct research.